Welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast. I'm Ani Anderson.
And I'm Brian Trzaskos. Join us as we explore the science
and art of trauma-sensitive somatic practices and tools.
Strengthen your practice as a coach, therapist, or holistic professional.
Master the art of motivating even the most challenging clients when you understand how to tap into and unlock your client's complete holistic intelligence.
If you want to learn the most cutting-edge, research-supported skills for personal and professional mastery, you've come to the right place. Let's get this conversation started. Hi, and welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast. Ani, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm celebrating today.
Oh, you are?
I am. Today is the official start of flannel season here in the Adirondacks.
Sweater weather.
That's right. I got my flannels. You're just going to see flannels from now on for the next 6 months.
Maybe I'll wear flannel
here
too.
Oh, that could be fun. Yeah, like you wear your flannel pajamas.
Oh, that sounds actually very exciting. I was thinking, I don't really like flannel, but I do like pajamas.
Yeah. Well, remember a couple weeks ago when we were in Vermont, we walked into that flannel store. I wanted to just fall asleep as soon as I walked in.
It's like
so
a cozy bed.
So cozy in there.
It was very Vermont.
Yeah. You should have been selling hot chocolate in there or something like that, right?
Yeah, but you might have spilled it on the flannel. And then you'd had to buy it.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, here we are.
Yep.
So we're not talking about flannels today.
Well, not anymore.
Nope. Today we are asking the question, how do I use the natural laws of manifestation?
What episode are we on, Brian?
Ooh.
Just out of curiosity.
106.
Great. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hop in.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. All right. So how do you use these laws? What are they? What are the natural laws of manifestation?
And how do you use them?
We want to know. Okay. Well, we've done other podcasts on natural laws before. So maybe you've listened to those. Maybe you have not listened to those. And maybe this is the first episode you're listening to about natural laws.
Maybe you've heard us talk on the natural laws. Maybe you have been in a program with us where we've taught you the natural laws.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of natural laws going on around here.
Any of those things. But anyway, we'll just do a really quick introduction of the natural laws in case this is the first episode that you're listening to about natural laws. But we also highly recommend you look back at past episodes we've done on the natural laws because I think there's quite a few back there.
There are.
Okay. So what are the natural laws? Well, the natural laws are essentially the blueprint for how everything in the physical world comes into manifestation or creation.
Right. And they're seen in all of the spiritual practices, because sometimes people want to know, is that the natural laws based on a certain religion? No, they're in all spiritually based traditions. Yep. And they've been popularized as success principles as well. So you may, as we're talking, feel like they're familiar to you because of your religion or your spiritual background. You also may have heard people talking about them out there in success principles or different books that you've read.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So they're around. They've been around for a really long time. People have been talking about them for a long time. And
as long as there have been people.
As long as there have been people have been talking about the natural laws. And this is kind of interesting thing about people is that, people tend to be curious and want to know how and why things work.
Make sense of things.
Yeah, people want to make sense of things. People, I think, are inherently drawn to patterns, like trying to figure out, oh, that happened once. Ooh, that happened again. Oh, that happened again. Oh, I'm seeing a pattern emerge. And I wonder if there's some type of natural process that's governing these continuous repeated patterns that I'm seeing would be natural things that people would note.
Yeah, I think many, many years ago, the ancients were trying to make sense of life and nature. And so they put some of the practices and philosophies together that we still use today.
Yeah. So gravity, for instance, is kind of an example of what a natural law how it would express itself in the world. So all natural laws have three basic qualities. They are omnipresent, which means they are everywhere. There's nowhere they are not. They exist everywhere. Number two, they're persistent and consistent, which means that they're always acting all the
They
time.
never take a break, even if you are taking a
Yep, all
break.
the time. They're working all the time. And they are non-judgmental, which means they really don't give a hoot what you think about them, whether you believe in them or don't believe in them, while you choose to use them or not use them, what you choose to use them for or not for. They don't give a hoot about any of that. They will just keep doing what they're doing.
And they're not judging you. They don't care about the things that you've done in your past. They're not keeping a log.
Yep, any of that. So gravity, back to gravity. So gravity is everywhere. There's nowhere gravity is not. And of course, then people say, wait, Brian, what about in space? There's no gravity in space. The law of gravity still exists in space because the law of gravity says that gravity changes based on the mass that it's associated with. So there's gravity around the Earth. Gravity is a different amount on, let's say, Jupiter, because Jupiter is a bigger planet than Earth is. But out in the middle of space, there's no mass, so gravity is less. But the law of gravity still exists all throughout the universe. If we shrink this down to the Earth for a moment, the gravity is the same all over the planet. The gravity is the same in China as it is in the US, as it is in Europe, as it is in Antarctica. Gravity is the same everywhere. Gravity never takes a day off. It's working all of the time. And gravity does not give a hoot what you think about it.
Yep.
No. So those are the basic
Tenants.
parameters, tenets of any of the natural laws. So gravity is just a good example of how to kind of think about a natural law. Now, gravity is a pretty good example because everyone, I think, has a direct relationship with gravity in some way. We all learn about gravity in school. We all learn about gravity when we fall down. And we all learn about gravity when we try to get back up again and all those kinds of things. So it's an ever-present occurrence in our daily life. But there are a whole host of other natural laws that can be used to manifest what it is that you want in the world.
Yep. And we're not going to go into all of them today because we don't have all year and neither do you.
Yeah.
It's going to take a bunch of time
So it
to
takes
do
time.
all of those. So we're just kind of giving you an overview
Yeah.
today.
And the question is really how do you use them? How do you use these laws of manifestation, these natural laws? Well, the fact is that the natural laws are manifesting all of the time anyway.
So are you.
Yep.
You're manifesting right now. People think that manifestation is something that they've got to like turn on, but it's not.
Yeah, because look at your life and whatever is in your life right now, you have manifested. You have manifested the dwelling that you live in. You have manifested the amount of money in your bank account. You've manifested the car that you drive or the bicycle that you ride or the skateboard that you skateboard on or the whatever, right? You've manifested all of that. You've manifested the relationships in your life. You've manifested your health and your body. So that's all a manifestation, whether you realized it or not, or whether you planned on that or not, or whether you like it or not.
And right. And part of the cool thing about learning to use the natural laws is you can start to intentionally shift what and how you're manifesting.
Right. So now we're talking about conscious manifestation. So I think lots of times when people talk about manifestation or when they search on manifestation, they assume that what they're talking about is conscious manifestation. But I think it's an important point that we just made to slow down for a second and say, wait a second, you're actually always manifesting. Because otherwise you might think that what you have you got by accident or that it was somehow given to you, that you didn't actually play a part in it, that it happened to you. So a lot of us are taught in our lives that life happens to us.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons people want to manifest too, Brian, is because they still want spirit or God or universe or whatever to give them stuff, which actually perpetuates that kind of disempowered dynamic,
Right.
just to be honest. So when we talk about manifestation and conscious manifestation, the fact that you're already manifesting, you're just unaware
Yep.
of it, it starts to actually have a more empowered view of manifestation to see yourself as a creator and a co-creator with spirit, universe, God, whatever it is, rather than expecting spirit to just give you stuff.
Right. So that's a really important point, right? Because lots of times when people enter into the idea of manifestation or prayer or whatever it is, you're right. They're actually asking for something to be kind of given to them. And that keeps us in a state of disempowerment. So I just want to reinforce that because that want to punctuate that because that was so important.
I think that one of the things around that too is it really, that idea that we're going to be given something in
Yep.
manifestation really activates a lot of people's stuff around the way that they judge themselves. So I might think that I want to manifest and I want to learn how to manifest and I want spirit to give it to me. But once I start the process, all of my junk around how I don't deserve it kind of
Yep.
comes up and ends up gunking up the process anyway.
Mhm.
The way that we talk about manifestation, I think helps people to come into a really healthy sense of self, but also that co-collaborative idea with the rest of life.
Yeah. Yeah. So whether you realize it or not, you're already using the natural laws to manifest. The real question is are you using the natural laws to manifest what you want to manifest consciously?
Because when you start to use the natural laws consciously, then you can consciously become a part of your manifestation process.
Yeah. So the trick, the first really trick or first understanding around using the natural laws consciously is understanding that you have the power to choose how you use the natural laws, and that's really your greatest power. Really, is choice in terms of aligning or not aligning with the natural laws, so to speak. Let's go back to gravity for a second. So gravity will either build bones or break bones. So gravity is required for both of those things. If you want to make your bones stronger, then you would do things like walking and weight bearing activities and lifting weights, and we know that that makes bones stronger. If you decided that you wanted to make a habit of jumping out of trees, most likely you would break bones. Now, if there was no gravity, you jumped out of a tree, you would float away. You wouldn't fall to the ground, you wouldn't break anything. So gravity is actually required for both building bones and breaking bones. And gravity, again, doesn't give a who which one you do, right? It doesn't care if you build bones or break bones. It's all about choice. It's all about how you're choosing to use the law of gravity or align with the law of gravity. So, with all the natural laws, that's really where your choice comes in. Are you choosing to align with the law, or are you choosing to align with the law to build the life that you want, or are you choosing to use the law to break the life that you want, or create a different life that you don't want? Let's put it that way,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time you say hoot, I think of the Tootsie Roll Pop commercial from
Oh,
when I was a kid.
yeah. Yeah. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like some Pavlovian thing. Every time you say hoot, my brain goes to
Tootsie
Tootsie
Rolls.
Roll.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we're going to get
I don't know, I must be hungry or something. Maybe
yeah,
my blood sugar's
some
low.
Tootsie Roll. All right. So we've let's just kind of chat just really quick about a couple of the natural laws, just to kind of toss some names out there, right? We have the law of more life, which basically says that life is always moving in the direction of more evolution and more growth, right?
We have the law of polarity, which states that everything is created as a whole.
Okay. We have the law of relativity, which states that you can't judge, categorize, or label anything at all unless you compare it to something else first.
We have the law of rhythm, which talks about how everything happens in cycles and seasons.
Yeah, we have the law of vibration, which states that everything in the universe is energy, and everything is vibrating, and that vibrational energy has different information associated with it. Different frequencies have different information associated with them.
We have the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, which talks about how everything moves from a non form into a form and then into a non form again.
Yeah, we have the law of cause and effect, which says that everything that you see in the universe, everything that becomes manifest had a cause, and there's nothing that is manifest without a cause. So everything has a cause, everything has an effect.
So there's lots of natural laws, and by the way, we're calling them by certain names. There's no like dictionary where different people are gonna, use different names for laws. These are the ones that we use when we teach.
Mhm.
But as you look at different spiritual principles and success principles, you're gonna see these kinds of ideas and laws baked into them.
Yeah. So when you really get real with the natural laws, it allows us to step away from, like our opinion about how things come about, or the idea that things happen randomly. Because, again, law of cause and effect states that everything that happens had a cause to it. Nothing really happens randomly. Everything happens according to some type of organizational plan. And that organizational plan is how all the laws work together. One more law, actually, I'd like to just mention really quick is the law of correspondence,
Hmm.
which states that all of the laws work together. It's really difficult to tease them apart.
But we do
We do for
learning
learning,
purposes.
right? But they all work together all the time. So it's once you start actually applying them, you might start saying, well, which one am I actually using? You're actually using all of them when you use one of them.
And a lot of people say that, success is easy when you use the laws. And part of the thing that makes it easy isn't like don't have to work for things or put forth effort because you do. But if you don't know the laws, it's kind of like you're swimming upstream. So you might as well not swim upstream
Yeah.
when you're trying to create things because the laws are the creation blueprint. So you might as well use them.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's say that you now know what a natural law is, and let's say that you even know what some of the natural laws are, sort of thing. So now let's answer the question, well, how do I use these natural laws that I know what it is and I know what some of them are to manifest things?
And I gotta be honest with you, Brian, when I heard we were doing this topic, I was like, I don't know. I think this is kind of obvious. But actually, as we're getting into it, I'm really glad we're talking about it because it's not. And I've seen this over and over again through the years that whether we're teaching the laws or we're hearing somebody else teach the laws, you hear it, it goes in the ears, but in order to actually use it, actualize something with it, people don't know what to do. They don't know what to
Yep.
do with it to be able to bring it into their lives.
Yeah, exactly. So I've kind of got this down to like I think 4 steps to answer this question.
Hmm.
Like if I was trying to figure out how to use the natural laws of manifestation, I think about it in four steps just to make it easy. Now, of course, there's things that are a part of all of these steps, but here's the basic steps. The first step is you need to learn the laws, which means that you need to be exposed to them. And we just shared some of them with you. And there you go. And by the way, if you're in our public library, there's some other podcasts and
Oh,
other
there's a
information in there
bunch of
about the
information about
natural
laws.
laws
Yeah.
so that you can actually get in there and learn the laws.
Yeah. Any of our certification programs have information about learning the laws in them. So if you're looking for like detailed or, formal,
Yeah,
kind of
right.
formal information, any of, actually all of our programs, not just our certification program,
Yeah, yeah.
have the
But
laws in there.
and I would say if you're kind of thinking about manifestation in particular, the laws that I would point a person to primarily are the law of more life, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, the law of vibration, right? The law of intention, the law of cause and effect, the law of non-resistance, and the law of rhythm. I would probably say, do you have any other ones that you feel like would
You
be?
could say polarity. You got to
Oh,
add
polarity. I'm
polarity.
sorry. Well, I missed that one. It was in my blind spot. Ah, 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 oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, that was the only one that was sticking out to me that you didn't mention.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so law of polarity as well. So as you're looking in the Somatic Coaching Academy library, kind of seek for some more information about those laws in particular, and those will be helpful to you in learning about the laws. Okay. All right, so that's step one. Now, if you don't do step two, three, and four, you're not going to get very far because step one is that intellectual, oh, I just learned about that law. So step two is apply the laws.
And I think you could probably, like, sometimes people think that this stuff is esoteric, but you can probably think back to anything you've learned about, but you really don't know how to do it until you do it,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Remember when I learned how to ski? I could have heard about that all day long, watch slideshows, whatever, get me on top of that teeny tiny bunny hill that felt like a big, huge mountain. And that was when I really started to apply, right? I mean, anything.
Mm. Well,
Learn
go back
and
to
then apply.
gravity for a second, right? That's kind of what you learned about the law of gravity, and now you're like on a ski slope, and now you're applying the law of gravity because skiing is basically just coming in alignment with
With
gravity.
slippery boards
Yeah, we're right.
strapped to my feet.
Right. You don't have to work to ski. You just basically have to point yourself downhill and turn.
You have to work how to not freak out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
I learned how to ski as a grown up, and so if you've learned how to ski as a grown up, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
right. It's an emotional,
It is an
yeah,
emotional
growth
thing.
opportunity for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so you have to learn the laws and then apply the laws is kind of step two. Now, as you are applying the laws, as you're getting them into your world, as you're working them, sort of thing, the next thing that happens is you prove the laws.
Back up just 1 second.
Okay.
We just said like it's kind of hard sometimes to explain the laws separately, but we do for teaching purposes, and the law of correspondence tells you they go all together. But I got to tell you, when you're applying the laws, I think it's really important to actually divvy them out.
Yeah, sure.
Applying and proving the laws, I think, really helps when you take them
When you separate them a
behind.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now to proving.
Proving the laws, yeah. So when you prove the law, that's essentially that you're getting evidence that the law is real and infallible. So again, go to gravity. So the way that you would learn, you might say, "Oh, I just learned about gravity. Okay, I'm going to apply it. I'm going to jump up in the air. I'm going to prove it. I keep falling. I keep coming back down to earth. So as many times as I jump, I keep coming back down again. So eventually you'll be like, okay, so I'm going to jump. It's going to happen again and again and again. You've basically proven the law of gravity for yourself.
Once you start to prove them, then not only do you not think about it as much because it kind of goes into your natural operating system, you could also say you have a belief or faith that that it works. So it becomes not something that you have to have as much effort around,
Yes,
as you
yes.
start to really prove.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, after you've proven the laws, then you can begin to live the
On
laws
repeat.
on repeat. So this is actually like, if we go back to gravity for a second, isn't it interesting that we were traveling recently and
Yeah.
we were at the airport and we were looking out the window at this massive plane,
Biggest plane I've
the
ever seen.
biggest plane we've ever seen,
Double decker.
like, international plane,
Like,
giant. And we both said to ourselves, can you believe that that plane is actually going to get into the air?
yeah.
So that is actually an example of living the law of gravity.
Yeah.
Because we know gravity says what comes up eventually comes down. But if people didn't understand and then prove gravity, they wouldn't be able to build airplanes. Because airplanes actually use gravity, right, in order to fly,
Yeah.
right? They use gravity, they understand other natural laws of the atmosphere and the wind shear and all that kind of stuff. And the way that the plane is designed actually takes advantage of the fact that gravity actually exists. So now, once you have proven the law, you can begin to live with it and actually start to leverage it in your life.
Yeah, I think, based on your example, if we didn't take the law of gravity into consideration, the thing is that that plane would fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
Like you've got to use the laws
Yes,
in order to be able to live in a world where we can fly airplanes.
exactly.
And so that's part of the thing, that the magic stuff that comes about with manifestation, and how there's certain people who we look at and we're like, how do you do that?
Hmm.
How do you have such an amazing relationship? How are you so productive? How do you bring in so much money? And it seems like, how are you so healthy? How do you run ultra marathons? It seems like this magical, like, I don't even get it kind of thing. But when you use the laws, you can actually do things that seem like superhuman. Wow.
Yeah.
Just like that, putting that big plane in the air.
Yeah, because now you're living with the law because you understand it so well. You've applied it over and over and over again. You've proven that it works infallibly, and then you're trusting it, right? Because we might actually also say that the natural laws are the only thing that you can really ever truly trust.
And are you saying you don't trust me?
I don't trust you, and you can't trust me.
Ah, I know.
We can't trust each other,
I know.
right? But we can trust the laws.
Yes,
Yes.
at least we have that.
Yeah, at least we have that together. So once you can really understand that you can really trust these laws infallibly, then you can live with them and then you can actually leverage them, to your point, to have an amazing success that other people look at and wonder, how the heck are you doing that? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A quick side trip. Learning laws as a couple, I think, is really cool because then you recognize that you can both actually trust the laws, and you have this common language for something that like won't change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
As I've worked with couples over the years, like the couples who both learn the laws have a way easier time navigating relationships.
Yeah. And if you ever asked your spouse, if your spouse is struggling and you ever ask them, "Are you living with the laws right now?" Duck. That's an, it's another law. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
love, more
More,
spouses.
a lot more. Now, I think that's a different law that we're not going to talk about. Okay. So, but is it more spice actually? Because is the spouses is the plural spice? No. Keep going. Okay. So we thought we'd share with you an example from our own life of these four steps, okay? Of learning to live with, learning to get ourselves to living with the law. So the very first step we learned was a law, and we'll talk about the law of polarity.
Yeah, so I think I have really been learning about the law of polarity my whole adult life as I've been reading different books and
Mhm.
texts, studying Tai Chi and Qigong and becoming a Tai Chi and Qigong instructor, and then we started taking master classes in the laws in particular
Yeah.
for manifestation. And so it kind of put a lot of the things that I'd been learning for a really long time into those contexts of success principles.
Mhm.
So learning the
Yeah, so we
laws.
learned the laws. And just to maybe round out the law of polarity a little more for our example, because we introduced it very quickly, is the law of polarity states that everything is created as a whole. But the other part of this is that humans have the capacity to perceive things in fractions, right? So humans have the capacity to see things in parts, only see parts of the whole. But everything in nature is created as a whole, right? So trees are created as a whole, squirrels are created as a whole, everything is created as a whole.
So when you're in that last step where you're really living the laws, you can start to really see life as a whole. But as you're learning, you gotta consciously put attention to start to see the different pieces that make the whole.
Right. Yeah, because we are conditioned to just see parts of it.
Right.
So that's the first thing we learned. When we learned about the law of polarity, we learned that everything is created as a whole. However, we will tend to see parts of that whole based on how we are conditioned or programmed. Okay. One of the other things we kind of learned about the law of polarity is that if you don't think you have something in your life, then you must have that thing in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little bit of a head scratcher for a lot of people because the thing that you don't think you have must be whole. And so if you don't think you have it, it's just that you're not seeing the whole thing. You're only seeing a part of the thing.
Must be there somewhere.
Must be there somewhere. We, when we first got together years ago and blended our families, it was it's a tricky thing to
There's a
blend
reason they call it the blender
the
family.
blender. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky thing when you get into the blender and you've got kids in the blender also. So when we first started merging our families together, a lot of blind spots come up. And one of the blind spots, I think we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, is we both kind of had the blind spot that each of us was doing more, contributing more to the relationship than the other person was.
Yeah. And the thing around that is I actually was.
What law is that? It's
Just
like the law.
kidding, honey. Yeah, so I thought I was driving the kids to school. They were going to a school where they had to be taken to. I was taking them all, including your son and my children. I was doing more of the cooking and the childcare and the housework. I was also very much involved in the business. But more on the behind the scenes, especially in the earlier times I had some clients, but I was also doing a lot of the technology and things that I could kind of shove between things where I was taking care of the kids.
Yeah, yeah. And I was, of course, sitting on my butt
Doing nothing.
and doing nothing, and yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So what I was seeing most of the clients at that time, working in my private practice and seeing people, multiple people each day.
You probably saw double the amount of clients I was seeing at that time.
Yeah, and I traveled a lot too. So I was traveling to supplement income and kind of grow what we were building, which means that I didn't see the kids as much as Ani saw the kids. So that felt like a challenge. That was always a challenge for me in terms of feeling like I was sacrificing that time with the kids in order to travel and work and continue to bring in more money around things. And then even when I came back home, I still felt like I was on garbage duty and recyclables and mowing the lawn and doing all that kind of stuff as well. So there was a sense that I think each of us felt like we were independently contributing more energetically to the relationship than the other person was.
Mhm. And since we were both tired, it was easy to stick with that story.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So once we learned the law of polarity, what I realized is that, okay, so if I think I'm doing everything, then I must not be doing everything.
Mhm. And I realized the same. And I started to really recognize how often Brian traveled because at that point you were traveling like once a month.
Yeah.
And when
For a
we say,
week. Yeah.
yeah,
Almost like
exactly. When
for,
I said
yeah.
travel, I mean, you were going somewhere on a plane.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a few years later that I started to travel more often and with you more often. I was traveling about 5 times a year that it really started to hit me what a toll that takes because I wasn't at that point traveling. And so I didn't understand like how arduous that was.
Yeah.
And that really started to help me to see that you were actually making more of a contribution than I was, than my perception was allowing me to see. You know, I also have conditioning around how hard it is to be a woman working in the home. We were doing kind of the more traditional gendered role kind of thing. And I was very stuck in my perception of injustices. And I, grew up in feminist kind of culture. And so my perceptions were really pretty stuck there. So once I started to entertain that, especially when I could see how much you were traveling,
Hmm.
and then also how many appointments you had. And I just didn't have as many appointments as you did. So I could be way more flexible with the things that I was doing, but you had to be certain places, certain times. So you had less flexibility.
Yeah. 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 And likewise, it occurred to me when you would go to see clients and I was at home with the kids for a period of time, or when you were gone for the day, as you started getting the more training that you were doing, like I really recognized, oh gosh, so the interactions, right? The dynamics of the blended kids in the family with us, that was also arduous to say the least, in order to manage all the personalities and the energies and the needs and the emotions and all those kinds of things was uber challenging. I also remember when I started picking up, like driving the kids, I think a day a week to school in
Yeah.
that little Prius that we had.
Yeah.
And when you first got it, I had no idea how to drive that thing.
Yeah.
It had like a little tiny stick in there
Yeah.
for shifting or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember not being able to figure out how to get it off the ferry, and
Yeah.
like all the kids trying to give me directions about it.
Yeah.
Actually, I think one kid in particular was trying to give me directions, but the other two were like hitting each other.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm like really kind of like feeling that agitation
Yeah.
going around those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it really made me realize, wow, that the energetic contribution from what you were providing every day was monumental, to say the least. So
Hang on. I remember when you started to take the kids to school and how much energy it took for you to be able to do it,
mm,
right?
yeah.
I think it's really funny because as you start to, funny, not funny, as you start to see those things, you start to shift the patterns. Like it does take energy
Oh,
to
totally.
do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. It's just so much easier just to be on my routine of like going to
exactly.
see my clients and boom, 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 boom,
Keep
boom,
going with the
kind
regular.
of thing.
And that's the part of the thing about manifestation is you actually change things and change takes energy.
Yeah. So we started to apply that second step, remember, was trying to apply the laws. So we started to apply the law of polarity. So what we were doing is, just to back up for a second, the blind spot in that law, or the blind spot we were having, was that each of us was contributing more than the other to the relationship. And that started to bring up resentment and those kinds of things. So then we learned the law of polarity, which states that, well, if you don't think you have enough of a thing, you must have enough of it. So I started thinking for, well, I'm having enough contribution, or it's even equal contribution based on the law, then what would that look like? And that's when I started to notice what Ani's contribution was. And it sounds like that's when you noticed what my contribution was, right? Sort of
Yeah.
thing. Okay. So we are starting to apply the law, and we started to get some feedback on it. And I can't say that feedback necessarily felt good, but it was feedback,
I would agree.
right? Okay. Okay, so then we get to a point where you actually prove the law. And so how do you do that? How do you actually prove the law of polarity? I think in this case, it allowed me to start taking bigger and bigger chances. And for you to say, okay, Brian, like I'm going to go away for a couple of days to go do something. And for me to be like, okay, like let's prove that everybody's going to get what they need and everyone will find a way to contribute or whatever it was, sort of thing. And to be able to like take that chance and take that risk and to have it come back as being, oh my God, it worked.
Yeah, I think for me, I started to recognize kind of the exact same thing that you were saying, but from my perspective, that I had more choice around what I was doing. And as the kids started to get a little older, I actually wanted to have what I perceived you had, which was more satisfaction at work.
Mm,
And so I understood that I could shift that dynamic because it just meant I had to contribute differently.
yeah.
Contribution was there. I needed to start contributing differently. And I also needed to let go of the fact that you were going to be contributing differently. And I might not always like what it looked like.
Yeah, right. So just what occurred to me too is like, again, one of those things was at that time, I was earning more money like per hour, if you will, than you were. And so when you were like, listen, I want to grow my practice a little bit, and
I
but
remember
then
that.
that
Yeah.
meant that you went and did something that didn't earn as much because now I'm with the kids. We're not earning any money.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, well, this doesn't make sense. Shouldn't I just keep working to bring in more money
Right.
kind of thing? But I realized, wow, so if I think I'm earning all the money, then I must not be earning all the money. So there's more value somewhere else. So we started looking in terms of value and what value Ani contributed to not only our family, but to the world also, realizing that there's a level of equitability there. And that allowed me to say, okay, so it's going to work. It's going to work. Like in the moment here on paper, it doesn't look like it should work, but I'm going to lean into the laws because I know if Ani has the opportunity to grow herself, her own capacity, then it's going to benefit the whole. So I was able, that's the way I kind of started leveraging the law and trusting the law to be able to get past that short-term illusion of the money balance and allow growth to occur.
And I actually started coaching then. And, my income increased,
Mm,
but also it changed some of the things that we were
yeah,
doing in the
totally.
business. And then it started to bring more value into the business
Yes.
as well. So, and attract like a new clientele,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Which
Right.
is kind of interesting.
Yeah, so now we got to the point where we proved the law of polarity. We proved that there's, whether we see it or not, there's an equal contribution into if our relationship is a whole, if you kind of see it as a whole, then we are both contributing equally to it. In the earlier segment, we didn't necessarily see how that contribution was happening. But once we proved the law, now we more quickly saw the contribution that each of us was bringing to it and that it was equal in value.
And starting to really consciously choose where we wanted to be making contributions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we kept going.
Yeah, exactly. So then we kind of segue. So then there's this natural progression into then living with the laws. So once we kind of had that experience, we thought to ourselves, well, how can we begin applying the law of polarity in other places in our lives? And then we thought, well, if we don't think we have enough money, we must have enough money. If we don't think we have enough energy, we must have enough energy.
If we
If we
don't
don't
have enough vacation, we must have
have a
enough
vacation,
vacation.
right?
Like we started to actually shift a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We moved our business from a business that was a seasonal business into a business that actually operated on the flip
Yeah.
season because we wanted more time. I mean, things changed in our personal relationship, things changed in our relationship with the kids. So it was like a real
Yeah.
holistic, our health, it was just a bit of everything.
Yeah. So now, in terms of living with the laws, whenever we feel like we don't have enough of something, we say, well, we must have enough of that thing. But to be honest with you, Ani, I don't even really have that experience anymore. Like I can't even remember the last time I thought I didn't have enough of something.
I agree. We just make decisions now knowing that we're going to have what we need.
Yeah, everything it'll just show up.
Right,
Right.
right.
Things will just show up
It's
based on our intentions and how we move forward, kind of the whole
it's
recipe we use for manifestation.
an integrated belief
Yeah.
at this point. It's just how life shows up, and it's an integrated belief.
Yeah, because we've proved it several times, right? And that just becomes like gravity
Yep.
kind of thing. And then we can start flying the plane of our life using the law of polarity, so to speak, in this regard.
Right.
And we start leveraging the law of polarity,
Yep.
right? So we can start looking for things in places that we know it must exist there, sort of thing. So I guess for me, it's not like I don't feel like personally I have enough in my life, but if there's something like we want to create or build or offer or teach, we might think ourselves, well, I don't know. I don't see that available or relevant or something like that. I know it must be somewhere.
Yep.
I know it must be somewhere because everything's created as a whole. And then I stop telling myself it's not there or it doesn't exist because I know it must be there.
Right. And we don't make decisions based on the fact that it's not there.
Right.
We know it's there. And so we keep moving forward.
Right. We know it's there. We just have to actually reveal it, for ourselves.
Right. And I think that accounts for why you might look at our lives and think, oh my gosh, you guys are like constantly manifesting something. Well, yeah, because we're living the laws.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the 4 basic steps. Learn the laws, apply the laws, prove the laws, live the laws, and then I have to also say too, when you're at the stage of kind of living the laws, the most important thing at that level is being in a community of people who are also living the laws. Because I admit, I can get sucked into bad news sometimes. Like if I'm listening and reading the news and something happens in the world, I can get like kind of pulled into that. And if I don't have a community of people around me to help pull me back out and remind me of kind of like who I really am, then I can spend a little bit longer in there than I'd like to spend in there. I mean, I know I get myself out, but it's so much easier to get yourself out when you're surrounded by a community of people who are actually doing similar work as you in the world in terms of living the laws.
Yeah, and having to like fight other people's belief systems when they're not the same as yours all the time is tiring.
Yeah.
Besides the fact, the more that you live into the laws yourself, the more you're going to attract other people who do too. And then again, stay in those communities like our mastermind community, mindset for manifestation, living the laws. We take people through a year-long journey where one by one you're going to learn how to learn the laws, apply the laws, prove the laws, and live the laws. And you do that in a community of people because it's with that community that the real integration happens and continues to take hold in your life.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Hey, if you're listening to this and you're like, wait a minute, you just said something about that. What was that program? Go to our website and you'll find the Mindset for Manifestation Living the Laws program, and you can check it out. You need to join a wait list to get information about it. We open up information about it and we send the information to the wait list. So you'll see, you just click on the button and it will add you to the wait list. But there's plenty of information on the website and you can read about it. And of course, you can always send us an email at info@somaticcoachingacademy.com to get more information about that or any of our programs.
Yeah, cool. So if this episode, you found it useful, and hey, share it with a friend. Send us a note. Leave a review. All that kind of stuff.
Send it to your spouse or your partner.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll love it. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that this conversation will help you improve your practice and change the way you think about your work, your clients, and yourself.
Continue your exploration of trauma-sensitive somatic coaching by listening to more podcast episodes at somaticcoachingacademy.com. You could be the trusted guide that people turn to help them with their most challenging situations and to reach their most precious goals. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you next time.